Hello YouTubers, this is Hassan Habib. This is the third video in a series of videos where I get to talk about, microservices architecture and how to use that to your advantage into building modern software that is easily, deployable, testable, easy to understand and all that kind of stuff that we talked about, in the first two videos. In this video, I want to teach you how to build a microservice. I'm going to start with the infrastructure part. The infrastructure is basically having a place where your service is going to live in the cloud, in Azure, a place where your code is being built and the tests are being run the test against, and also a place where you get to push your code. So your code is maintained and saved in a location where you get to retrieve it or share it with other people, however you want to do with it. It also gives you the opportunity to actually review the code that is being pushed to your repository and make sure the right code and the right functionality is being built when you're working with a team. So what I want to do today, I want to start with, I'm going to go to the cloud, to Azure, and I want to build a place where my microservice is going to live. It's going to be in the form of a web application. So let's go ahead, let's go to Azure here, and let's build a resource. Like we said last time, I'm going to try to break the iRecruiter project into smaller microservices, and I'm going to take advantage of having that monolithic application that I completely, have full knowledge about, and I'll show you how to break that down, into microservices based on the domain concepts more than just models or functionality. So I'm going to start the web application here, and let's call our web application iRecruiter Workers Service. Here's my service. And then I want to create a new resource group, so I'm just going to call it iRecruiter Workers Service Resources. And I'm going to enable application insights. Obviously, if you're building a microservice, you want to make sure you have the logging and monitoring and all that kind of stuff in place. So application insights will give you that. And then let's create a new plan for that. So let's go and say iRecruiter Microservices Plan. iRecruiter Microservices Plan. Great. Let's click OK on that one. And let's create the service. So while that is working, that's in the background here is working, let's go ahead and create a project, and let's call it iRecruiter Workers Service. That's going to be our microservice. We're using Git. It's agile. Everything is good and dandy. That's great. All right, so now that we've created a project in Team Foundation Server, let's go ahead and pull that code down, which is basically, there's nothing there, it's just a container. So go ahead, let's start a command line here. Let's go to repo, as a source. Let's go to repos. And let's copy that guy. Git clone. That destination already exists, of course, because I was trying this before I started the video. Let's go ahead and delete that guy. Okay, that guy is gone. Let's do that now. Git clone. All right, iRecruiter Workers Service. Great. If I go and open up that destination, we got the iRecruiter Workers Service, and there's absolutely nothing in there. Now we want to build the code of the microservice itself. Let's start Visual Studio here, and let's go ahead and start a new project, and let's call it iRecruiter Workers Service. I'm starting, of course, an ASP.NET Core web application. This is a solution. I'm gonna give this a random name here, because I'll show you in a bit. I'll just call it X just for a second. And then I have an API. I'm having it Dockerized so I can, use that later if I want to integrate with Service Fabric or Kubernetes or, whatever is out there that allows me to take advantage of Dockerized services, you know, to manage them better as a microservice. So I'm just going to start the project here. This is my project. So I have iRecruit a worker service. And just before I start coding and doing all that fun stuff, let me go here and copy all that work here. Let me copy just that stuff here. I don't care about the Git part. And let's go back to our repos and just put it in the place where we have decided we're going to link. Okay, let's skip that guy. I don't care about that guy. Okay, great. Now let's go open the project. I know there's probably a better way to do that, but I don't want to waste too much time on that. I just want to open the solution for the project. So let's go open project solution. I recruit a worker service. Here's my guy, and let's do that. Okay, so this is where my stuff is, right? That's great. And because we're building just the infrastructure of a microservice, I will not talk much about what the service exactly is doing. I'll get to that right after we build the infrastructure, just to make sure that the service that we're actually building is the service that we're actually building. Instead, I'm just gonna add in just a quick test project, just to make sure that our build is running the tests and whatnot. So in the test here, I don't want that one. I want the XUnit test project. And we could talk about, you know, why XUnit versus MS test. It's a lot easier. The attributes are extensible. So many reasons that you could, you know, Google it and find the comparisons out there. But for now, starting with XUnit test project, here's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it iRecruit workers service tests. Here's my test, and I want to put just a add mock in here, because we're going to use that a lot when it comes to unit testing our microservice. So we're adding mock. Some people call it MOQ. Regardless, mock-U, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Let's just put something here to say that we're actually running a real test. Let's call it true. This is nothing really, and unit test and test one, doesn't matter. If I run my test here, do Control-Alt-T, it should have my test explorer here saying that this test is passing and everything is working as expected. We're also going to run the service locally to make sure that we actually can hit the endpoints on that service. So if it's working locally, it should work wherever we want. What we're going to do, this is values controller. We're just going to call the values controller, which is API/values, right? So let's run that. And let's have Postman, which is a program, a third-party program that I'm using to hit the services. Once the service starts, we just want the URL from that service so we know what to call. These are a lot of other stuff that I was testing. Here it is. So this guy is already hitting the values endpoint because it's a GET. So your browser is already hitting that. But if you want to do that in the future, you know, a lot better way to do it is to call that guy like this, and it'll actually formalize and pretifies, you know, the results for it. So we're setting that. So the service now works. We know that it's /API/values. It'll return the values that your controller is returning in here, right? So now we have a service. We have code. We have everything. Let's go ahead and push that code up to Visual Studio to Git, which is also living in Visual Studio Team Services. So I'm just going to go in here and go to iRecruit worker service, git add. So I added all the stuff, and then git commit and initializing the project. And push to Team Foundation Visual Studio Team Service. So I expect now that when we go to our project, that it's not going to look like that anymore. Now that we have code, it's probably going to allow you to, oh, there you go. So if you go to code, you should see both in the iRecruiter worker service, you should see the service right here, right? You got the service right here. Something weird though that I don't understand and I don't see, these are the controllers. Everything seems to be in shape. The thing that I don't like here is that I'm only seeing the service, but I'm not seeing the test. So why? Let's go here and see what happened here. So this is iRecruiter worker service test. Let's see, where is that at? Oh, it built it in its own thing. Okay, I don't like that. I want to include that in my solution. All right, I want to add that here to my solution, so I'm just going to cut that and I'm going to put it in. I don't know if it's going to let me do that. We'll see. Oh, great. That's cool. Now that I have that, let's just rebuild that stuff and make sure everything else is in place. Now that I see, I don't know why it does that. It did that twice before I was building that video. Okay, let's see. The project file could not be loaded. Now let's exclude the stuff that we don't want. Let's see. Let's see what we got here. Okay, let's make sure this guy actually builds first. Okay, the project file could not be loaded, could not find file, blah blah. Okay, can I do this and then just include the project again? Maybe existing project, and then I can go to iRecruiter workers service. Oh wow, what is that? Services test. Wow, I'm really terrible about building. Choosing names and whatnot. Great, and now let's just make sure the tests run. Running the test passed. And now let's rename the project. Instead of services, let's make it services. Service test. Okay. Also this one. I wish it just renamed the entire thing. Maybe it's done for a reason. I don't know. So now that we have everything in place, I want to push that stuff again, right? Because it added the test project way outside of the solution and outside of the folder. Now if I go check out the folder, I should be able to see iRecruiter workers service. Oh, maybe I could change that one as well. Service test. One mistake, and you have to. Okay, here. Can I do that? Great. Now what? Let's rebuild and make sure everything in place. It might not find it because I changed the directory. But I like things to be perfect. Okay, it couldn't find it because it's a different location now. Let me try to take that out. Let me try to take that out and put it back in with the new location and everything. Not to this guy, but to this guy. Add existing projects. Where are we? Service test. There it is. And while I'm at it, I don't need that folder anymore. This guy. I don't need that guy anymore. So now we're good. Service test, service. Sorry about that. Words are hard. Now, just one more time, let's build everything and make sure the world is good. Great. Let's push all that to Team Foundation server. So git add, git commit, then added test project fixed names. And then let's git push origin master. Now I expect that when I look at this guy here, I should be able to see the right directory structure. So what am I seeing here? I'm seeing service tests, with one lonely unit test and the actual service itself. Okay, now that my code is in place, let's go and build. Let's go and add a build and release definitions. So now that I have my resources right here, I have my iRecruiter workers service resources. Let's go to that resource. Where's my resources? Resource group. Why Azure is weird. Let's give it a second. Maybe I lost my internet connection. No, I didn't. So iRecruiter workers service resources. I have all these guys here. iRecruiter workers service. This is my resources. Let's remember those names. Let's go and set up a build and release thing. I'm going to create a new build definition. And I want to say take from Git for this particular project. I want to deploy ASP.NET Core. There it is. Build and test an ASP.NET Core application, which is great. Comes in pre-configured with a lot of cool stuff that we're going to go through right now. And what do we do here? So restore, I have my stuff. I want to just make sure that, so now look at this. It's looking for a folder called tests to run the test. I want to change that. So let me unlink that, and I want to tell it, no, it's not in here. You just have to look for something that looks like this. So in your solution, if you look at your solution, your project is called iRecruiter Workers Service Tests, right? If you look at the folder in the directory of your solution here, you will see iRecruiter Workers Service Tests, and then inside of that, it'll find your project. Might be a good idea, actually. Yeah, might be a good idea. Yeah, it's going to be something that is ending with tests. So that's great. So this is how I'm building my tests right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and link that. Tests, perfect, perfect. The build is great. The restore is great. Let's just save. Let's save and queue that stuff. So what I'm going to do now that I have a build definition, what this is going to do, it's going to go ahead and roll out a job that will go pull out my code and build the code, restore any NuGet packages that are needed, and then run the test. And because we only have one random test, just to see if our tests are running and whatnot, it's just going to run this one test, and then it's going to create an artifact, which is basically what we are going to use later to deploy to Azure. So we're just waiting for it to start building. There it is. So if you click on the job, it's initializing agent. There you go. Now, to be honest, this normally doesn't pass with me first time with first projects, but we'll see. It's a good thing. I want to run through some problems, and I want to show you how to solve it in case you run into it. If you don't, then you're lucky right there. You don't need that. I love that ASCII stuff. Isn't that cool? It's running a restore, trying to pull back the packages. Looking good, pulling stuff. As you can see here, it's pulling all the stuff that you're using through XUnit. I expect it to also, you would see mock here somewhere. It's completed installation. Of course, we're going to go through some things where we talk about how much is code coverage. I'm gonna show you how to implement that, so you're able to see how much of your code coverage do you have, and we should be able to also set some rules around, when to say no when you don't have enough code coverage. It's not enough that you just have passing tests. It should be intelligent enough to say, okay, where there are scenarios, there are code paths that you didn't actually test. It's not enough to have a test that says, okay, I'm passing and everything is working. Did you actually test all the possible scenarios? There's also an additional part, when you use different data. So code coverage will help you so much to cover code areas, but it doesn't mean that you're covering all the scenarios necessarily. For instance, if you have a function, that takes two different kinds of you have a data, but based on the data, it will decide and determine specific things, and it's calling external things. Code coverage might not catch that. This is why manual code review will always be out there, because there are paths. You are covering it, but you're not covering all the possible cases, which is problematic. So especially when you're using dependencies and whatnot, and these dependencies are doing something funky, you're going to have to make sure that you're actually testing the right things. This is why you always need code review. You'll always need to make sure you have everything covered from a business perspective. Okay, now it's doing great things. Now finished the restore. It's building the project, and now it's getting to the test part. Okay, let's see. It seems like it found our test project, which is great. Starting test execution. All tests were successful. Publish artifact. Okay. This is a great problem. So it says here that no web project was found in the repository, right? Web projects are identified by the presence of either web config. Why? There is no web project. This www root thing is not there. You don't have a basically web page that the people will go to. It'd be nice to have, but you don't have that in here, right? So what we want to do, we want to go to our build definition and fix that. So if you go to the publish part, it says publish web project. You don't have that, right? What you actually have, what I actually want to build is, I only want to build the project that I care about. So not even all the project. I just want to publish iRecruiter workers service. That's the only project I care about. Everything else, it doesn't matter. Why would I publish my tests? I don't see any reason for that. So while this is happening, I'm just going to go ahead and save and queue, right? And while we're at it, this is of course going to take the same time, to run and do the tests. And I hope it passes this time. While we're doing that, let's go to the releases and let's build the release definition for our microservice, right? So let's find, we have Azure service deployment, right? And this is our environment. I'm going to call it div environment. What else do I need? I need to add the artifact. I'm telling it find the artifact in iRecruiter workers service, which should be in this definition. Oh, my definition name is horrible. I probably should have a better name, but okay. So whatever the artifact that come out of this build is what this guy is going to pick up. Now, what's the trigger? Okay. Continuous deployment trigger. Enabling this trigger will create new release every time a new build is available, which is what we want. Okay, this is cool. What about this guy? What does this guy want from us? What Azure subscription? This is the cool part. Where do I want to deploy? So I am in the pay-as-you-go Azure subscription. I'm going to authorize that. I have to log in here and authorize that, which is great. Yeah, sure. So I'm authorizing my subscription. Now this guy should go away. Come on, go away. And down here, I want to find the service that I want to deploy to. It should be available once this guy authorizes. I'm basically telling Team Foundation Service, please act on my behalf, access my cloud, and pick up a service to deploy to. It should show up here, the service that we built here in Azure. It should show up iRecruiter Workers Service. Let's go find that out. It should be in here. Let's refresh that guy. There it is. iRecruiter Workers Service. There it is. Oh, not that guy. That guy. Perfect. So it's going to deploy to this guy. Deployment. Okay, I saved that guy. The world is happy. Now my pipeline looks right. So it's going to pick up from this guy. It's going to pick up whatever artifact that the build throws at it. And it's going to go ahead and deploy. This is not authorized by manual. It's authorized by after release. So as soon as we release, it's going to go ahead and I don't have any scheduling. Only when I have a new release, go ahead and deploy it. I don't have any conditions here as well as just that. So this is great. Let's go back to our build and see what happened. I hope that time it passed. We'll see. Where are we at with our build? We're at the restore stage. Close enough. It took us about 3 minutes last time. There you go. It's restoring, it's building, it's doing cool stuff. Just a quick comment here about having your microservice built within a Docker Composer. You might need to enable that. You might need to enable that on your computer, and you might need to restart your computer a couple of times to set up things. I'm not going into details, what it's going to enable. You can go into Docker and see, what it's doing actually underneath. But, if you're building an ASP.NET Core web API or a microservice and you want to Dockerize it for the first time and it's asking you to install things and restart your computer and all that kind of stuff, that's okay. That's expected. All right, running the one lonely test that we have. Here's our test. I don't know why it filters that way. Still didn't figure that one out. If you do this, if you're not seeing your test and you say clear, it'll show you the test. I don't know why it's doing that. But anyway, this is the test that we're, and the test is running, seems to have passed, which is great. Let's go back to the job, the console, and see where it's at. Now we're in the publish stage. I think it failed last time. I think probably at the publish stage. I don't know, we'll see. I hope it doesn't fail. I don't want to re-record that video. It takes a lot of effort to prepare a video. You have to try things first. You have to try things a couple of times and things fail and then you record again, and it could be painful sometimes. Oh, it's publishing. Done. Amazing. So everything is going great. Now I expect the release guy to start because it should find something ready there. It should. Ah, look at that. Oh, kind of got me disappointed there. I was happy for a second. Is it doing anything? Not deployed, not yet. No deployment yet. Why? Did we not set it up correctly? Okay, let's look at our release. Let's see why it's not doing that. Or maybe it did, I don't know. By the way, when you are the administrator and you're the one building this stuff, if you go to your email, it'll tell you every time. You probably want to filter these emails, but in general, yeah, they'll go ahead and say, obviously you see all of these all of these emails that I received is just me trying to make one passing, one complete, you know, um, run, right? What's this though? iRecruiter 100% test pass, great. But it says 2 errors though. 2 errors. No, oh, that was the old one. So it didn't push to that one yet. Okay, cool, cool. We didn't get an email about that one yet. Okay, let's see why the release is mad. You know, why it didn't actually release anything, right? Edit. What do we have? This guy, right? One phase, one task. Okay, releases. Nothing. Oh, it is in progress. Look at that. Okay, weird. Because when I click the release, oh, there you go. Okay, fine. Great. That was weird. It took it a while there, but it's deploying. So let's see. Now it's deploying, which is great. I wonder if there's some log I can take a look at or something. I don't know. Can I look at the log or anything? Is there any progress that I can see? I'm not seeing anything. Oh, by the way, you could also look at your artifacts, you know, by just accessing, you know, the folder. It should put it in a drop folder. Artifacts, and then there's your drop folder. You could go and explore that and see what's inside of your drop folder. It's probably going to be your service, basically. Anyways, I'm glad it's deploying. I don't want to retake that video. Believe it or not, this is like the third or fourth time. It's deploying. And our hypothesis is that it should deploy that right here at this level. And once that's deployed, you'll be able to see, so these are the deployments history. It should be able to show you here. Let's go back here a second. Deployments. This was the last deployment that we know of, which is the time we've created the service, basically. So let's see if we're going to get more of these once the deployment here is done. Refresh that guy. Still in progress. Also, by the way, in your, like I told you before, you could just go to your builds and look at the tests. And then all you have to do is clear your filter. I'll show you your tests. I'll show you how long it took and you know what it did and all that kind of stuff. This guy's still running. I feel I'm commentating on a soccer game or something. I'm trying to find something to say. It's telling you what artifact, what commits, and all that kind of stuff. Oh, there it is. There are logs. Huh. Okay, cool. We have logs. That's great. That's good news. Oh, we failed. Why did we fail? Failed to enable rename logs files. Failed to fetch app service iRecruiter workers service publishing credentials. That's not good. Why did that happen? I think that might be a blip. I don't trust that this is failed to fetch app service. I recruit a worker service publishing credentials. Let's deploy that again. Let's do that again. Deploy. I don't trust that. So let's trigger that manually just to see. Because we authorized this guy, right? So it shouldn't have an excuse. Now that we know, we can see some logs, which is great. There's our guy. I'm just kicking it off again just to see what's up with that. It doesn't seem to be something that we've done wrong. But then again, every developer out there would not just blame themselves, you know. So let's just make sure. Downloading artifact. Deploying to Azure. Got connection details, so it is talking to Azure. Seems to be talking. They seem to be shaking hands. I don't know. Forget about the previous attempts. Let's not worry about the past. Let's just make sure this one successfully deployed web package to app service. So it was a glitch, you know. I think I don't know. Sometimes this happens, right? And I'm not gonna cut that part from the video. Okay, it's just as it comes. As if you watched any previous videos from me, you'll see that. You know, it'll be just as we deploy it. I don't even know how long we've been running. Quite a bit. About 37 minutes. Wow. Okay, successfully updated, but it's still showing that we're running here. That waiting part. Okay, are we good? Summary, still running. Environments, artifacts. Where was that cool thing that I clicked on? There it is. Pipeline view. Oh, look at that. Cool stuff. Been running for about 1 minute and 57. So, you know, considering everything, for probably 5 minutes total, considering the build and the release and whatnot, it's not too bad. Now, ideally, we should be able to hit that service because we know for a fact that this guy is an empty shell. If you look at the actual service itself as it stands today, it's an empty shell. There's nothing in it because we didn't deploy any source code to it. So unless the deployment is completed, if I do API/values, it shouldn't return anything. But who knows? Maybe the deployment is completed. In that case, then it should return value 1 and value 2. Oh, there it is. Great. So it did complete. There it is. It did deploy successfully. So let me visualize things with you today, just to, you know, a recap to this video. We created a project, we pushed it to Git repository, we set up Visual Studio Team Services, and then we pushed to a web application. Now that you see that, now you get to understand, you know, that you know, that's basically how you build the infrastructure for microservices. We're gonna come into a point where we talk about some details about scalability. How do you scale? How do you make sure that when you're receiving requests, like let's say you want to distribute, as you see here, we distribute our microservices to certain regions like East US or Central US, wherever you want to deploy your resources, we need to use something like a traffic manager to control that stuff for us, right? And when you click on a microservice like this, you get to actually control your scalability. How many instances, like if you're going to scale out, you know, how many instances do you want to scale to? It's based on the pricing tier and whatnot. So that's it. That's pretty much it. That's how you build a microservice. You can increase your instances up to 10 based on your configuration. You can scale up, meaning beef up your server, and allow up to, I think you can have up to probably 20 instances or so, which is cool. Up to 20 instances, right? In my career, I think 3 instances is more than enough, but it really depends on your business need, right? 3 instances is ideal, but based on your business need. Thank you for watching, and I apologize for some inconveniences for when we're building the project, but overall it seems that, you know, you could see now the entire picture from code to testing to building artifact to deployment to Azure. Thank you for watching.